Hello students, welcome to the class of English Literature. We are doing the poem Rabbi Ben Ezra. In the previous video, we have discussed the biography of the writer Robert Browning and a short introduction of the poem. Today we will begin the text of the poem. Rabbi Ben Ezra is a long poem of 192 lines expressing Robert Browning's optimistic philosophy of life regarding both youth and old age. Youth is a time of struggle for glimpses of God's omnipotence in an imperfect world. Old age can be the age of wisdom, of spiritual maturity that comes from recognizing divine perfection behind earthly imperfection and from perceiving God's unbounded love as well as God's omnipotence. The poem was published in Browning's Dramatis Personae in 1864. The poem is narrated by Rabbi Ben Ezra, a real 12th century scholar. The piece does not have a clearly identified audience or dramatic situation. In dramatic monologue, we have read that in dramatic monologue there is a single speaker. So here single speaker is Rabbi Ben Ezra. Secondly, we talked about dramatic situation, but here dramatic situation is not clear. And third thing, there is a passive listener. Audience are present here, but they are also not clear. Who is audience, who is listener here, that is also not clear in the poem. The Rabbi begs his audience to grow old along with him. He stresses that age is where the best of life is realized, whereas youth shows but half. He acknowledged that youth lacks insight into life. Rabbi Ben Ezra might be described as Browning's reply to Fitzgerald Rubaiyat. Browning's Rabbi being the opposite number to Fitzgerald Omer. Rabbi Ben Ezra opens with Rabbi addressing unknown audience about the beauty of old age. In order to explain his point in a better way, the Rabbi tells his audience that youth is certainly the most glorious age of the life of a human being. Abraham ibn Ezra is the speaker of this poem. He was a theologian, philosopher, linguist, and scientist. A strong believer in immortality, he found that second half of his life, means his old age, is much more productive and satisfactory than the first half, than the young age. The ideas of the poem are Browning's and they are not always in accord with Rabbi's actual sentiments. This is a dramatic monologue in 32 stanzas. There are 32 stanzas and in each stanza there is 6 lines. So we can say 6 lines, 32 stanzas, means there are total 192 lines, and the rhyme scheme of stanza is AA, B, C, C, B. The poem begins as, grow old along with me. The best is yet to be the last of life, for which the first was made. Our times are in his hand, who saith, a whole I plant. You choose but half. Trust God, see all, nor be afraid. The poem is narrated by Rabbi Ben Ezra. The piece does not have a clearly identified audience or dramatic situation, as I have told you earlier. The Rabbi begs his audience to grow old along with him. According to him, the best part of life is the last of life. He stresses that age is where the best of life is realized, whereas youth shows but half. He acknowledges that youth lacks insight into life, since it is characteristically so concerned with living in the moment that it is unable to consider the deeper questions. So he demands people to join him in the progress of getting old. He says, grow old along with me, यानी मेरे साथ old होके देखो. The best is yet to be the last of life. Last of life means the old age of life is the best part of life, for which the first was made, for which the first part of life, the youth is made to get into old age. Our times are in His hand. His here refers to God. Our life is in God's hand. Who has planned our life? God says, a whole I planned. Youth shows but half. Rabbi points out that no person has experiences of life when they are in their youth. Old age is a mixed blessing because even though it will take away the vitality and strength that one possesses as a youth, it will give a person more experience about life, and he can use this experience to develop a better understanding of the world around him. This first stanza of the poem enunciates the philosophy of the whole work and begins a series of exhortations encouraging readers to look forward to the aging process that brings a mature faith in God's providence to take what is defective and partial in this world of seeming limitations and to make all right and whole. So we can see this first stanza presents the whole philosophy of Browning. ये इस पोएम में हम क्या पढ़ेंगे, व्हाट इज़ द मेन थीम ऑफ दिस पोएम, इस पोएम की थीम क्या है वो इस फर्स्ट स्टैंजा से पता चल जाती है. द फर्स्ट टू लाइन्स ऑफ ब्राउनिंग्स पोएम आर इन डायरेक्ट ऑपोजिशन टू फिजराल्ड्स रिग्रेट. फिजराल्ड says that youth's sweet scented manuscript should close. The prevailing meter is iambic trimeter, but the rhyming third and sixth lines in each stanza employ iambic pentameter. First, second, fourth and fifth line are written in iambic trimeter. This means that each line is having 3 iambic feet. So total syllable in line number 1, 2, 4th and 5th is 6, and line number 3rd and 6th is written in iambic pentameter, which means line number 3rd and 6th are having 10 syllables. The second line of the poem, "The best is yet to be," was adopted as the motto of Anglo-Chinese School of Singapore, a family of schools founded as a Methodist institution in 1886 and is a well-known, well-endowed education institute in Singapore. Second stanza begins as, "Not that amassing flowers youth sighed, which rose makes ours, which lily leave, and then is best recall. Not that admiring stars it yearned, nor Jove, nor Mars, mine be some figure flame, which blends, transcends them all." In the second stanza, Rabbi decries the follies of youth. We must trust God and not be afraid. While gathering flowers, a young person is not able to decide that which flower should be chosen by him or which one should be left, as he wants to get the best. He says, "Which rose make ours, which lily leave, and then as best recall." While admiring star, youth yearns for the superior star, as Rabbi says, "Not Jove, nor Mars, mine be some figured flame, which blends, transcends them all." So Rabbi wants to say that in young age, a person remains doubtful as well as highly ambitious about his choices. He further writes in stanza 3rd, "Not for such hopes and fears, annulling youth's brief years, do I remonstrate. Folly wide the mark, rather I prize the doubt. Low kinds exist without finished and finite truths, untroubled by spark." So these ambitions are called spark. In this stanza, in third stanza, Rabbi just present an opposition with second stanza. In second stanza, he has decried the follies of youth, whilst at the same time in stanza 3, valuing the doubts of youth, he regards them as a part of our development. First, Rabbi says that youth's brief years should not be wasted for such hopes and fears, but the very next moment he interrogates himself that whether he should object these doubts of youth. He realizes the folly. According to him, these doubts and ambitions of youth should be avoided as he sees. Rather, I prize the doubt. Rabbi appreciates the doubt of human beings because he thinks that they separate a person from other creations of God. Low kinds of animals exist without any inspiration or spark. So we can say that Rabbi wants to say that there is a difference between human being and other animals. कि जो ह्यूमन बींग्स है उनमें एक इंस्पिरेशन होती है, उनमें एक इच्छा होती है, उनके पास आशाएं होती है, डर होते हैं कि उनकी आशाएं पूरी होंगी या नहीं होंगी. तो ये जो कैरेक्टरिस्टिक हैं, होप्स एंड फियर्स, ये जो एम्बिशंस हैं, दीज आर द स्पेसिफिक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ ह्यूमन बींग्स एंड दे सेपरेट्स ह्यूमन बींग्स फ्रॉम अदर एनिमल्स. लो काइंड्स एग्जिस्ट विदाउट स्पार्क, विदाउट फिनिश्ड एंड फिनाइट क्लोथ्स. मीन्स जो लो काइंड की क्रिएचर हैं उनमें इस तरह का स्पार्क नहीं होता जैसा ह्यूमन बींग्स में होता है.